What's up, guys? Back again for another episode of Have It All. I'm joined today by some amazing people, and we are going to have a rather aggressive discussion today. But here with us is Kris Krohn.
What's up, guys?
We also have Carlos Reyes and Nick Marietta.
What's up, guys?
And today we are discussing what is the best real estate strategy. And I brought in some of the top dogs to debate this. And it's going to be really interesting. But let's get the rules straight, okay? You're each going to have a little bit of time to answer a few questions. But when your time's up, you're going to hear, which means it's time to stop talking no matter what you're saying. Because I know when you guys get going.
Why?
When you
Why
guys
do you need
get
this
going,
tool?
you won't shut up. So to make it fair,
All right.
no talking over each other, we're going to do it like a
It's kind of like presidential
political debate.
debates.
This is a real estate presidential debate.
This should be fun.
Well, and we should make some introductions because we got Carlos Reyes in the house, which is like one of the most well-known dudes out there right now, crushing it with his brand All In. And it's all about this wholesaling game, which is like, I don't actually ever hold property. I don't actually ever buy it. I just find good deals and I hand it off to someone else and I get a big check.
So the question is it even really real estate?
It's a people business.
It's almost like contract flipping, I guess, right?
Flipping paper.
Flipping paper, yeah. You're never actually really flipping the house, but very effective, especially for a lot of folks out there who are looking to get into real estate and don't have a lot of credit, don't have a real estate license, and don't have a lot of money. So, I mean, it is the perfect entry-level game for people to get into.
Perfect.
That's awesome.
And then we got Nick Marietta. Nick's my buddy who crushes it, especially in luxury flipping. Dude, what is the biggest house you've ever flipped?
The biggest house we're flipping right now is $5 million. It's 6,800 square feet.
Dude, that is a gutsy game.
And you know what? Why would you do 20 houses when you can do one house?
It's already getting started right now.
Just kidding. All right, so first question. We're gonna rank this. Let's talk about the money-making power of each of these strategies. Which one's the best in terms of earning potential? Let's start over here with Carlos.
Wholesaling is very active, right? It's active income for sure. It's almost like you start at zero every single month. So there's no real longevity like there would be in the buy and hold game. This is super active income, and people do make millions of dollars per year doing wholesaling.
Bro, you just showed me a check. Mm-hmm. It was like $763,000 of profit.
783, yeah.
Okay, sorry, $783,000. Let's not skip the $20,000. Mm-hmm. On a $1.5 million house. Mm-hmm. Dude, that would be crazy. That's insane that someone can actually make that on a deal.
Absolutely. What we've seen over the past 3 to 5 years is a lot of hustlers, right, from all walks of the world, get into wholesaling and instantly overnight become multimillionaires, and that's what you get with wholesaling.
Overnight millionaires. What does single family home have to say about that? How many overnight millionaires have you made?
No overnight millionaires. It's actually more about being passive versus active. You're actually not putting time, effort, and energy into the game if you play it the right way. And I think it's better comparison against like a retirement account. Like, why do people throw money into stupid 401ks and IRAs? It's because they hope over time it accumulates into something. The problem is most retirement accounts are earning single-digit ROI, but real estate can earn double and triple-digit ROIs, which means over time, you buy a single house, and then 20 years later, you've got $15 million. But it didn't require any of your time. So you could be focused on your family, your career, doing something different. So kind of difficult to compare. I like them both.
Okay. Let's go to Nick. Luxury. What's the earning potential with it?
Well, first of all, before I go to luxury, I think I'm the key for him and I'm the key for him. And here's why. Because you have to be able to source the deal, you got to be able to fix it, and you could flip it. And if it works for rental, you could keep it. So why would you just keep real estate if some of them don't work for your buy box, but you could buy them deep, get all the earnings, get the flip, fix them, and also have the rental? So I think I'm actually the key component to this, actually, the game, you know?
Well, and I want to make sure people understand the difference between flipping, though, and actually wholesaling. Because you're flipping paper to someone like a Nick.
Yep.
Nick, you actually have to find a way to buy it, and then you have to get contractors. You have to repair it. It seems also like a ton of work, bro.
Yeah, well, guess what? You can buy hundreds of homes and have contractors fix them for rentals, right?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so why not be the wholesaler, the fixer, and the guy that holds them? And I think you got the winning formula. I think everybody's got it wrong. That's the problem, because you're not buying the deep properties. Not all of them fit your box, and that's why you want to be the flipper plus the wholesaler plus what you do. So I'm actually going to bring a little bit something different to the game, and I think you need to be right in the middle of all of it, but be able to go both ways. And that's what I do.
If you're in the game of real estate, and if you're saying, I'm actually an investor, and I'm not just passive, I'm also actively playing the game,
Yep.
You're definitely, if you have all three tools at your disposal, then you can literally win on all fronts.
Because I don't do a lot of rentals, but I do buy most of my deals on a wholesale model ourselves, because we do the wholesaling in-house. Nowhere near like what Carlos does. We're the fix and flip machine, right? And when you're talking about the luxury, you got to remember something. So if Carlos could, do 20 deals a month, or you could buy 20 deals a month, well, it takes this big team, right? If you did one flip in the luxury game, or what if you had luxury rentals? Have you ever thought about that? If you actually had the luxury rental game, how many less units would you have to do? That many less designs, that many different contractor jobs, and that's why I like the luxury game, because you just bundle it all in one deal.
Pros and cons do that. That price range scares me.
But I'll say one thing. What is a wholesaler's biggest regret in their career?
They don't have any assets at the end of the day.
But they make crazy good money.
Not keeping those properties that they acquired at 60 to
That's a great
70 cents
question.
a dollar.
But it just goes like this, Carlos. That's a good one. So what wholesalers regret selling to flippers, watching them make another 100, 200, 300,000, and then what flippers that went like what I do that way, watch somebody like Krohn transact $2 billion worth of real estate and hold it all.
Yeah, it's kind of complicated to look at, though, because I think you're talking about two different kinds of people in general. The people that are really attracted often to the holding game, it's those that are saying, dude, I'm into my career, I'm into other things, I want the benefits of real estate, but I can't afford to make this thing a day job. So they're actually, that's kind of, on one hand, it's a gain, but it's a flaw. It's a pro and a con. The pro is you wait a couple of decades, they're going to do financially really well. The disadvantage is that they're still often making career income. And, dude, once you've tasted the ability for real estate, I always tell people on all my social media, it pisses a ton of people off. I always tell them you need to make at least an extra $50,000 or $100,000+ a year that you can invest outside of any of your expenses. And if you have a job, people are always looking at me cross-eyed like, dude, what is wrong with you? That is how am I supposed to do that? And you're like, I don't know. How about like make an extra $1 million a year? Because you have students do that, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay, let's turn the heat up on this a little bit. You guys good with that? I want to know why then. And we'll pick on fix and flip to start with, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
I want to know why you guys don't fix and flip.
We do, but not to that degree. And we do see the beautiful thing about wholesaling is, like he said, we're the golden goose, right? We're finding we got the golden eggs. So we control what we do depending. So wholesaling, I want everybody to know, wholesaling is just an exit strategy, right? An exit strategy, what wholesalers truly are is we're deal finders. Mm-hmm. We find off-market, heavily discounted properties through marketing and then sales to convert that marketing into deals, right? And when we look at a deal, we analyze this deal and we're like, if we wholesale this deal, we'll make $40,000. But if we fix and flip this deal, we'll make $120,000. So sometimes on properties like that, like the one you saw with the check of $783, we could have wholesaled that deal and made $400K. Well, we decided to actually flip it ourselves, and we made $783K, $730 net.
So is the reason you cherry pick which deals you fix and flip because you can't always get that golden deal?
So yeah, let me just say this: real estate wholesalers are not investors. We're entrepreneurs. We are real estate entrepreneurs. That's what we are, right? An investor, what does he do? He invests money, and then he expects a what? A return, right? That is an investor. An investor, not to call an investor lazy or anything, but they don't want to.
Sounds like it.
You want to turn up the heat, right? So they don't want to spend money on marketing. Most of them, right? You made that transition because you saw the potential. Most investors don't want to spend money on marketing. They don't want to take the risk on marketing. You know what? They don't even want to talk to homeowners. They just want to sit there and have people bring them deals. That's truly what investors want to do. So that's my perspective on it.
Why don't you fix and flip?
You know, I think I got really attached to building a certain type of machine because I value my time. And for me, I just said, I want to be passive. I love that the holding of real estate is passive. And once I actually built the machine, that itself was also passive. So every year, like the hundreds and hundreds of homes that we're now buying that take none of my time, that's a dream. But I look at it, I'm like, Nick built a machine. And even though it's an active machine doesn't mean you actually have to run it. So I'm like, could have built a different machine. And his machine, by the way, prints money. Mine grows money. And those are just two different things. And so in general, it's if you want to put time in, you can make a lot of money. If you don't want to put in time, you're going to have money someday because your money's actually growing. And I think it's the temperament of people. Like for me, I actually like the idea. I don't believe in the lotto. I don't believe that I'm going to make all this money someday. For me, it's like, I'm just going to buy thousands of homes, and then I'm going to wait 20 years, and I'm going to have billions of dollars. I like that.
Would you guys agree with his assessment on the time component?
Yeah, and let me just add this, right? If there was levels to like the real estate game, right? Level 1 would be, wholesaling, which is finding deals. Okay. Level 2, eventually a wholesaler does graduate. The good ones, the ones that are in it for the long haul. Level 2 would be fix and flipping, and then level 3 would be buy and holding, and then level 4 would be multifamily, and then level 5 would be commercial. And you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you can gradually kind of evolve as a real estate entrepreneur. So there's a lot of runway there.
So I'll go to that in a second. Nick, and I guess we'll come to Carlos after. How come you're not doing single-family home?
How come I'm not renting single-family homes?
Yeah, doing rental properties the way Kris does.
Well, the biggest thing where I come from is, like Carlos said, when you start somewhere, like he has all these people that basically have a sales, they're entrepreneurs, they have a sales background, maybe know a little bit about marketing, right? Well, where I come from, I was a contractor, right? So most contractors are what make investors rich, is because every investor has to have a contractor, just like every investor buying fix and flip, and most of the time, like what Kris does, buy and holds, has to have a wholesaler, right? So for where I came from, I didn't know anything about marketing. I didn't know anything about raising money. I didn't know anything about finances, right? I was working on houses. So I actually ended up like the way Carlos did. I come in through the contracting side, and I reversed engineered it, and I went from contractor to being my own investor with my own contracting company, right? And when that's all you know, and you don't educate yourself, and you don't get around somebody like Kris that actually has the knowledge, knows how to raise the money. Because when you go, Kris, how did you do $2 billion worth of, real estate? It's like, I've been in the career, 15 years, and I finally just built myself up to a $100 million line of credit on fix and flip, and I don't know anybody in the fix and flip game that even has that, right? Can even has that capability, and I was stuck there for a while. It's all about mastering the game of money. Yeah. And that's real good. And it's the mastering it's mastering the game of money all the way from wholesaling to fix and flip to what Kris does, because if you don't know how to manage your KPIs, you don't know how to manage your numbers, you don't know how to manage your marketing dollars, you don't know how to manage and pay your salespeople, you don't know how to manage contractors, all the numbers here and there, you're out. So the reason why I never went there is I was looking at the instant gratification, right? Mm-hmm. And Kris, had a job, kept that there until he could become an entrepreneur, until he was financially free. He's one of the very few success stories. In fact, he's probably the only one, and I'll give him that credit, that's at the level he's at. There's nobody doing what he does. There's a lot of people that have $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 a month of passive income, but that's really not enough money to live on forever, right? That's not the millions and millions like Kris has done. So that's why I never went to that, but now that's the only model I'm going to.
Here's the irony of actually sitting down with you guys. Let's be super honest. The amount of energy that you're currently putting into wholesaling or flipping, because I know you've got 12 deals going on, how many hours a week are you actually personally putting into all the deals that you're doing right now?
So me personally, who wrote the book called The 4 Hour Work Week?
Yeah, Tim Ferriss.
Tim Ferriss? So if you ask my business partner, Sal, we want to write a book called The 4 Hour Work Month.
Yeah.
Because we have 12 properties listed on the market right now, right? We've been successfully wholesaling for a very long time, almost a decade. And we built a machine. The beautiful thing about a wholesale operation is you can actually automate this thing, where you break down these departments, and now you have marketing, you have acquisitions, you have dispositions, you have admin, which is transaction coordination, etc. And eventually you get to remove yourself as the owner operator. You actually, you come into the wholesale space as a solopreneur, right? It's just you. Maybe you're making some cold calls. Maybe you're sending a little direct mail, direct response marketing to homeowners, and you're handling all the acquisitions. You know, you're going out there, talking to folks, trying to acquire their property deeply discounted. And then you eventually become an owner-operator. You start hiring a couple people here and there to, you know, give you back some of your time, right? The first position that I successfully hired was an acquisition manager, which is my brother-in-law, Adrian. And that's how I was able to remove myself from that area, right? Because that was taking about 80% of my time. Well, eventually, if you get good enough and you evolve as a businessman, then you become a real business owner. And then now you have this well-oiled machine making millions of dollars every single year. And all you do is spend maybe 30 minutes to an hour a week in your Monday morning meetings.
There it is.
Right?
By the way, this is exactly what I'm getting at. You're spending 30 to 60 minutes a week.
That's it.
On your entire development in St. George, how many hours a week are you putting into that?
Probably 15 minutes.
15 minutes. And for me buying all the properties that I am every month, I'm putting in no time. It's less than an hour. And I think there's something of value for everyone to understand here is that when you're new to the game, in all of these things, you got people doing buy and holds that are trying to play property manager that are hating their life, fixing toilets. They got that. You've got your problems without systems. You have your problems without systems. When you learn to play the game like a pro and you have systems and you have teams, the answer should be no time, like as little as possible, which is, it speaks to this graduation of, well, where are you at in your investor journey? Is it owning you or are you owning it?
Which is actually a perfect seg for the next question. If you guys had a time machine and you could go back in time and tell yourself one thing when you were starting out that you now know that you didn't know then, what would that one thing be?
You know, I say this all the time. Wholesaling and fix and flipping will make you rich. Buying and holding real estate will make you wealthy. There's a huge difference between rich and wealthy. So I would have held on to a lot more properties.
You want to hear the irony, though? If I could go all the way back to the beginning, I would have built a second machine that was a wholesaling and flipping machine. Because, well, why not have both?
Money today, money tomorrow.
Yeah.
I got one better for you.
Wow.
So,
Always trying to level. Nick,
It's supposed to be a
you
debate.
can't help it, can you?
well, I mean, what do you want me to do, Kris? Think about this. So, there's two things to that. I think in today's world, they should partner with somebody like with Kris on real estate. They shouldn't even do it, or they should go like all in on like the right franchise if one existed, right, guys? But think about this. I was a contractor for hedge funds. So in 2009 to 2018, I did over 6,000 remodels for investors and hedge funds. So, Kris, how many houses have you transacted?
6,500.
Okay, so I would have basically been a Kris if I would have just found the money and known how to raise money and known the money game. So you need to understand the game of money and ROI from the very first thing. If you don't understand the money from the beginning, don't even start with anything, because that's where it all starts. Because if you understand the money, the rest of the components don't matter. You can get people to do those. You just have to have the right people, the right systems. So I did all those rehabs, and I built a $1 billion hedge fund. Think about that. I built the $1 billion hedge fund by doing all the work for them. All I would have had to do is have a little bit of wholesale and the money, and I would have been done.
It's interesting. It's interesting because you're actually hitting on maybe one of the most important points. One of my rules these days is I either own 100% of a company, I own 50% of a company, or I own 10%. In other words, if I mastered a game like I have buy and hold, then I get to own 100% of it. But if you have expertise or you have expertise that I don't, then I'll gladly give up 50% as long as I can create equal value. And I would rather lean on all your expertise and own half of it. And then I meet some people where I'll say, give me 10% of your company, and I'll be a business advisor. I'm not going to clock in, clock out. You don't get my time. But anytime you want to call or bring me to a board meeting to learn how to level up your company 10 times 100x, I'll do that for you. Those are the only structures that I use. So, Nick, you're actually right on the money, which is like, are you sure that is this where you want to put in your 10,000 Malcolm Gladwell hours? Or do you just want to borrow somebody else's and only get half the winnings? That's my favorite model.
I got a question. Let's talk about the market right now.
Yeah.
Current market conditions, right? Great time to wholesale. Great time to buy and hold. I think the fix and flipping side is a little bit, sketchy. Would you agree?
I would disagree because I know very few buy and hold guys from 2008 in Las Vegas till about 2010. We were buying on the down. I just did a live last night on my YouTube, and I literally talked about right now you need to be buying, if you're on a 4-month hold, you just do the average. We're at about a 3% decrease per month. I'm used to buying on the down. I remember buying at 1.5% to 2% consistently, flipping houses. And the great thing is we actually created more problems. Back then there was more REOs, and they're on their way. They're coming. But the wholesaling wasn't really needed until, I didn't even know what a wholesaler was till 2016. Anybody could go buy the property, right? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of why I stayed in the middle where I was at the fix and flip. But, at the end of the day, I think it's a great time now because you can get such a discount. You just got to discount it ahead of time. And I think it's great.
I think hands down, Carlos, the market over the last 2 years before we saw the turn, before the Fed started increasing rates this year, it was a hard market to compete in. Like, it wasn't yielding the best profits across the board because everyone was just buying things up higher and higher and higher. And we all found ways to compete and play and win. But on a down market, man,
it's game time.
It is game time. And this is the time to be. It's weird because actually Stephen Graham is like, don't buy real estate right now. Don't hold real estate right now. And I'm like,
A lot of people.
What?
That's crazy. I'm like, 2008 was the best thing that ever happened to me. Give me a recession any day. This is the time to be playing the game.
Absolutely.
I couldn't agree more.
There's no greater time.
So I've got a question for you guys. It sounds like, you've said that wholesaling leads to fix and flip, leads to holding. Is there a system out there that offers all of that? Is anybody doing that sort of a game? And if not,
Not yet.
why?
Dude, if someone brought all three of those together, if someone could bring wholesaling, flipping, and holding all together under one roof, hands down, that would be the ultimate game.
Yeah.
Agreed?
Yeah, there's nothing out there like that right now. Yeah, you either fall in either bucket. You're a wholesaler. Most wholesalers, 90-something% are fix and flippers, and then most fix and flippers aren't wholesalers.
It's always the debate, right? They always get stuck, especially between, do I want to flip or hold? Do I want to wholesale or hold? And man, if I had to go back to the beginning, I'd say do both.
Do it. Have it all.
Have it all.
Have it all.
Have it all.
Okay.
I'm going to hold that no comment for the future.
Okay.
You got a special wild card, Nick?
I know.
That's all I'm going to say. I have
you
to have that
piqued my
moment.
interest.
I have to have that moment. That's it.
Okay. Yeah, I wish there was somebody out there that can offer all of them under one
If there's
roof.
just no comment, guys.
We'll have to get together and revisit.
Last words. Final words on what is the best real estate strategy.
Listen, I'll just say this. I think every person, every human being has a different background and is living under different circumstances, right? Wholesaling saved my life. I'm, as you guys know, I'm an immigrant from Mexico. I came here illegally. Didn't become a citizen until 2012. Late 2013, I started getting into the game of wholesaling, and it changed my life forever. I read a $10 book that said, hey, if you want to become a real estate entrepreneur / wholesaler, you don't need any credit, you don't need any money, and you don't need a license. I still don't have a license. And I always wanted to be a real estate investor, right? And this book told me that I qualified to be a real estate investor if I just had hustle and creativity. And wholesaling changed my life. It saved my life. It allowed me to retire my wife. It allowed me to retire my mother. And it's changed the financial trajectory for generations to come in my last name. So I can't say a bad thing about wholesaling. A lot of lessons have been learned. I do advise every wholesaler out there to learn the trifecta of real estate. That's my advice.
Nick, last words.
Mine's completely different on that. So Carlos and Sal, thank you, changed my life because I've learned how to wholesale. I've watched all their stuff. I've been around them. And I was struggling with wholesaling in 2016, and that's when I really got with them. And so on that side, along with many, many more things, and Kris has recently and your entire team's changed my life. So I'm going to reverse engineer that a little bit. I think everybody first needs to understand that they have to make decisions through faith. And I say there's 3 different kinds of faith. There's a religious faith, there's a spiritual through the earth, and then there's atheist. All of them are good faiths, right? But if you don't make your decisions through the feelings and through faith, your first decision's never going to be a good decision. And anybody out there, they need to first make their decision through that, and that's my personal belief. And I've always been looking at it in the last near future of all the things that's changed in my life. The second thing is you have to get rid of your limiting beliefs, which Kris has completely changed my life on limiting beliefs. So if you have faith, get rid of the limiting beliefs, anything's possible. The third thing that you need to go do is you need to go find all the free content you can, educate yourself. And the first thing you need to educate yourself on is how numbers work. It doesn't have to be money, you just have to understand numbers. Because if you don't understand ROI, the king of ROI here, right? Mr. Book wants to be ROI. Big bold letters. If you don't know ROI and you don't understand numbers, a lot of the business is 10 times harder without the faith, right? Without having any kind of self-development, without knowing the numbers. And then whatever you're the best at and whatever seems the easiest path for you, not just short term, but long term. You have to think long term, the long game. Quit playing the short game, because I played that short game too long and it cost me billions of dollars. Guaranteed. Play the long game. Suffer now. Pay the price today to reap the rewards 20 years from now without having to go through the pain and all the suffering like what we had to do. Not saying Kris didn't have to go through it. And if you just do that, and it doesn't just have to be real estate, if you just do that with anything in life, I think you've got it made. And just always be a good human and always try to help people and serve. If you use those basic things outside of real estate, anything you do, those are my last words.
That's powerful, man.
Thanks.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Kris, we're going to let you have our final say.
I think we as humans take life for granted. We take our health for granted, and yet it's not going to last forever. We're all mortal. Like, we've all caught a disease called mortality. We're all going to die. And so we get caught up sometimes in the wrong games. When in our 20s, we think we're invincible. When we're in our 30s, we're doing family formation and running around crazy with kids. When we're in our 40s, we're just neck deep in our career. When we're in our 50s, we start empty nesting and realizing we didn't plan for a future. You can always make more money when you're young and active, but a time comes when you can't. And when my parents retired through bankruptcy and lost everything, thank God I was there where I could take them in. They've been with me for the last 13 years. But I'm reminded every day that there's a time to work and there's a season when you don't get to anymore. And a lot of people take life for granted and they don't actually prepare. And so it's like, whether you did well financially during your working years or you didn't, the question is, what do you have when you can't work? And unfortunately, most people have nothing. So on this one, while it'd be great to have greater abundance during your working years, if you've got nothing in the end, that's a problem. So I would say prioritize investing in a way so that by the time 50, 60, 70 rolls around, and modern medicine is going to keep you alive for decades longer than the past generations, make sure that you're ready to meet that with financial options. And so at the end of the day, yes, flip, 100% yes, wholesale, but if you don't hold, you're making a huge mistake.